Okay, so as continues in the yesterday's session, so today we will try to quickly see the demo on the ECR registry. Okay, either you can just try to do the practical on like Docker Hub, right? Docker Hub with your EC2 base instance where you can install the Docker engine. You can install Docker engine and on that you can just create the containers, whatever you want. Okay, but these are the completely manual thing we need to manage. Okay, so apart from this, you can just try to create instead of using the Docker Hub within AWS, you can use ECR, which is Elastic Container Registry. Okay, and you can simply just create the registry here, whatever the applications you have. For that, you can just create the registry. You can just push whatever the image you have. Okay, and instead of deploying on the EC2 base approach, EC2 base Docker engine and then the container, so you can just use managed service, AWS managed service, which is ECS Fargate, as we have seen yesterday, right? For some of the sample application. So that benefit is like we don't need to worry about the baseline patches, management, and the service maintenance, whatever like that. So we can easily use ECS Fargate service. Okay. So here today we will try to create one sample hello world page. Okay. If you have any ready-made applications, you can use that as well instead of hello world. It's same. Okay. We can convert Docker image from the Docker file. Okay. We can convert the Docker image. From the Docker image, we can push this Docker image to ECR, and from the ECR, we can try to build container or run container in the ECS Fargate. So this is our approach for today. Now, what things we require to do this complete setup? Okay, to build the complete project. So based on yesterday's session, can anyone try to explain like what things or what service we need to build this small project? Services, permissions like that.
Web service.
Yeah, I mean to set up this complete thing, what we required.
I think CLI.
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
Yeah, so I am a user. We need to create, I guess,
Yeah, first,
AWS CLI.
definitely. Let's say ECR repo, ECR repo we need, which is similar to your Docker Hub registry. Okay, there's nothing else. So instead of using any third party, sometimes some client might approve within AWS service, they want to consume the services. Okay, they don't want to push code on the any third party tools or like that. So in that case, we can use ECR registry. So we are using this for some of the project, and for the some of the other project, we are using the JFrog. If you haven't experienced, you can just read about it. It's simply registry basically. JFrog, Nexus, and other steps as we discussed yesterday. Then let's say if you are trying to build this application from any CI/CD tool, which is let's say Jenkins, for example, and Jenkins available within AWS account on a EC2 instance. So in that case, we don't need to create AWS user. Okay, we can simply create a role there because we don't need to require that IMA credentials, right, for the roles because it's within a AWS environment. So we can just simply create the IMA role and we can attach to this EC2 instance as simple as. But now let's say for local machine, if you are trying to push any Docker image from the local system, so we definitely require authentication. Like in the Docker registry, we just log in, right, by username, password, or authentication code, something like that. So same thing here, we require credentials. So for that, we can use I am a user here. I am user with which permission? Can anyone guess? What permission we require to manage or push or pull the image from the Docker ECR, not Docker, ECR registry?
Read and write.
Read, write, yeah.
Yeah, definitely read
EC2.
and write, but what? Like EC2 read or write or ECS or something like that. Which one we required?
I think we are doing.
ECS.
Yeah,
ECS.
ECS container registry permission we required. Then we need to create ECS cluster, and in the cluster we can just try to build the service and we can just run this container. Okay, so in between definitely like we need to push Docker push image to registry, right? ECR, that we will definitely see, but these are the main things there that we required. So let's create that. So I have just used this chat GPT just to generate this sample hello world page, nothing else. So here I can show you that. If you want to use any Java based application, that also fine, you can use that. But I am just using this simple HTML page just to print this hello world message. So for local, what you required, you can install the Docker engine if you are trying from the local. So you can just simply download Docker desktop for Windows. So here you can just simply just download this exe, okay, and you can just install on your local machine. Let me add the steps here. ECR registry. Okay. Now prerequisites. As we discussed, we required AWS EC, ECR repo, right? And I am user. If you are trying from your local machine, otherwise you can just create the role, and that role you need to attach to that EC2 instance. I am a user with ECS container registry permission. Then build application in VS IDE tool. Okay. Push this image to ECR registry. Okay. What else required? If you have not installed AWS CLI, definitely you can just install it. AWS CLI. If you haven't, test application. Okay. Steps involved. If you are trying from local machine, so based on your machine OS. If you have a Linux, then you can just simply install the Docker engine. If you have a Windows base, then you can just download the exe. If you're trying to from local machine, then download Docker desktop or engine. Okay. Now I have already installed and if you can see here, docker-v, I have this install version. Okay, and then on your local machine, you can just create one project folder basically. So I have created one folder here. Here, Docker sample project for ECR. Okay, create Docker sample folder on local path. Okay, like this, whatever you want. Import that folder in VS Code. Now, how you can import that? Import or just open basically, otherwise you will get confused. From here, file section, open folder, and you can just simply open that Docker sample project, which whatever the name you have given. Okay, you will get like this. Okay, just make sure Docker is installed properly. Command docker-v. Once that is done, basic setup. Now, next step is you can just create IAM user with ECS container registry permission. How you can create it? Just go to your AWS account, IMA, okay, and just create a new user. Just give the username like ECR admin, for example. ECR admin. We don't need to give the console based access here because we just required for the programmatic access command line. And here next, so just attach policy directly. Click on that, and you will get all the policies created by the ourselves by the customer or AWS managed policy, which is predefined. Just search ECS container or just search container registry here. Amazon EC2 नहीं, I think ये. Let me copy this. Amazon EC2 container registry full access. Just give that. Next. In between, if you are getting any issue, so at least for the practical point of view, you can just give admin full access and you can just try it. Okay. If you get any policy related issue, otherwise you will not get. Just required, we require just container registry full access. That's it. User created. I'm just giving the policy name here. Now coming to that user, ECR admin, and just generate the credentials from here, security credential, just to configure in the local machine. Scroll down, you will see this access key. Just click on access key, CLI, use case. And just click on next, create access key. You will get like this. Now you need to configure this access key and secret key on your local machine. Okay, I will add here. Create access key and secret key and configure by AWS CLI. Okay. For this, you need to install the AWS CLI. Okay. You can easily find out these steps if you can search install AWS CLI on Windows, for example. So based on operating system, you can just use it. Okay. If you are Windows based, then you can just select Windows operating system there. Windows one. Okay. I will add this link here. I have already installed, so I will not going to install that. How you can configure? Just AWS configure. Okay. Just copy this access key. Run the command AWS configure. It will ask access key. Just add that. Press enter, and again just copy this secret access key. Paste it. Enter. Add the region where we want to create the resources. So in this case, we are using Mumbai region. So I just added AP South one. It's already there. So I will just leave it blank. Press enter and finally enter. Okay. So now we have successfully configured this AWS credentials. How we can verify? You can just run any one command just to print the message like AWS S3. So whatever AWS S3 I have in the account, that will print here. So I'm getting the issue because this user is not have that permission, right? We just added the ECS container registry only permission. So which is fine, right? If you are getting like issue like access key doesn't find or something, then definitely you need to configure this AWS configure and add that access key and secret key. But now I am getting different issue like permission related. ECR admin is not authorized to perform, which is fine because I have not given the permission. We only added the permission for ECR. So we are good with that. So this is done. Now what next? 7 number. Now create ECR repo with name like sample ECR F, for example. Go to this ECR service. Just search ECR here. You will see. Open in the new tab and just click on create registry repository. Okay. I will delete this. Click on create repository. Give the name like what we have given is sample ECR application, right? Just add that and just click on create. So once you have created this, now next step is create Docker file and add required sample code to run application. Okay. So for this, I just created one sample HTML page. So just copy this context. This is just a hello world index.html page. So we have opened that project in folder structure in this VS Code, right? So here just simply click on this new file, give the name index.html, right? And just paste that code, save it. Now we need to write down the Docker file here. So I have this sample file, which is Nginx based because for this to run the application on the HTML, we required web server, right? So we have this as we already seen on the EC2 base yesterday. We are using Nginx as this image. Okay, and we will copy this and index.html page into this root directory for the Nginx like this, and we are exposing the port number 80 and we are starting the service. Okay, this is a simple project here. Just add the Docker file, click on this main folder and click on this file, D capital Docker file. Okay, in VS Code, it will automatically change the logo here. and just copy paste this code. So now we need to run these steps we already completed. So now next step, build the Docker file and create Docker image. And 10th step, push login to ECR and push the Docker image to registry. Okay. Now how we can push to the Docker registry, ECR registry? We know about the Docker registry last time. We need to log into this registry and just push it. Okay. But here, if you can click on that particular repository, you will get the command here, view push command. Okay. As of now, there is no image we have pushed, right? So simply just click on the view push command. We will see all the details based on the operating system. So we are using on the local Windows, but I have also installed the Linux based subtitles here. So let me try this Linux based. Retrieve an authentication token and authenticate your Docker client to your registry. Use CLI or AWS CLI, okay, which we already installed the AWS CLI, okay. It's AWS ECR get login password, our region, okay. Just make sure that region code here. Docker login username AWS password it will take from this account which credentials we just configured, right? AWS CLI. And this is the path of this ECR registry. I just log into that from the local. Just copy paste it. Let's see. If everything is fine, we will get this message. Login succeed. If any issues like permission not defined properly